Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 5 of the Christmas Craft Countdown, where I'm sharing a brand new Christmas themed Cricut project with you every day for 20 days. After yesterday's very impressive 3D train, today we're back to kind of more of our normal craft projects with another layered cardstock design. And today's is so cute. Look at this. Santa has collapsed down into his favourite armchair after a long night delivering all of the Christmas presents on Christmas Eve. He's taken his boots off and he's got his favourite fluffy reindeer slippers on, and he's got a lovely hot fire behind him and a mug of steaming cocoa. Here is the design in a little bit more detail. There are loads and loads of layers in this. It's a wonderful dimensional project. Let's get started. The files for this project are free for the next 24 hours. Here's how to download them. Register a free ticket for the Christmas Craft Countdown at craftwithsarah.com/Christmas25. After registering, you'll get an email which contains a link to the schedule page for the countdown. Visit the schedule page to find and download today's files. Each download is only available for free for 24 hours after it goes live. If you've missed some, check out the Instant Access Bundle at craftwithsarah.com/Christmas25 bundle, which gives immediate and ongoing access to all of the files from the Christmas Craft Countdown, plus loads of extra bonus designs. Or purchase just the design from this video at craftwithsarah.com/products. To find the designs from this countdown, click into the Occasions filter and choose Christmas. The designs will appear here each day once the free versions have expired. The download comes in a zip folder. You need to unzip this before uploading the SVG files into your cutting machine software. For instructions on how to use the cut files, visit craftwithsarah.com/help and choose Cricut, Silhouette, or Scan and Cut. Within there are dedicated help guides on topics such as how to upload SVGs, how to modify them to make custom projects, framing tips, and how to cut cardstock with your type of machine. If you have any questions, email hello@craftwithsarah.com. Now, on with today's project. Here is my sleepy, yawning Santa Claus loaded into Design Space. It should load in at 8 inches wide and 6.85 inches tall, but of course you can make it larger or smaller if you wish. As there's lots going on in this design with lots of different layers, as you can see by opening it up on the layers panel and looking at all the different pieces, I do recommend making this one a little bit on the larger side, just so it's easier to put together. However, there aren't any particularly small or intricate cuts on this, so it does cut nicely smaller, so you might just end up with quite a thick paper craft by the time all the foam squares are in. Of course, if you wanted to make it a little bit thinner, you could glue some of those layers instead of foaming them. The beauty of these layered projects is you can make it exactly as you want it to. You don't have to follow along exactly with me if you don't want to. To resize the design, click on it and make sure the padlock icon between your width and your height boxes is closed. If yours is open, click it to close it. And then that means you can type either the width or the height, and then the other measurement will change automatically in proportion. So this would be 10 inches wide, very, very big, great to use up as a display on your mantelpiece or on a shelf or something like that. Or you could make it smaller, perhaps to go on a greetings card, so maybe a 5x7. That wouldn't quite be the right size, not 55, 5 inches tall, and it would be 5.84 inches wide. I probably wouldn't go any smaller than 5 inches tall. I think if you go smaller than that, it will get a little hard on some of those pieces. I'm going to do mine at the original size, so let's undo all of this until he goes back to where he was. There we go, 8 inches wide. When you're ready to cut, press Make over on the top right, and that will separate out all the colours for you. You can change the paper size in the drop down here, and then if you want to, you can click and drag to move things about to use less space on your cardstock. Just make sure when you're moving things about that nothing overlaps, otherwise it won't cut out properly. You'll need to make those changes to all of the different colours. Although there are lots of colours in this design, for many of the bits you only need a small amount, so it's great for using up some of your cardstock scraps. When you're happy with how everything's looking, press continue to connect to your Cricut and follow the on-screen instructions to get everything cut from cardstock. Here are all of the pieces of my sleepy Santa Claus cut out. I've laid them one on top of the other following the assembly guide included in the download folder. I'll be putting this together with a combination of glue and foam squares. The glue I'm using is Barely Art glue, but I also like Halal. The reason I like these two glues is they don't bend or wrinkle the card like some glues can do. The foam squares I'm using are from Dot & Dab, but any brand will do. These particular ones are 2mm thick and 5x5mm in size, which means they're nice and small, which is great for some of the smaller elements of this design, but if yours are bigger, they're really easy to cut smaller with scissors. As with all my layered designs, we're starting at the bottom and then working upwards. So I'll move these bits away, being careful to keep them vaguely in the right order, seeing as I've gone to all the effort of putting them in place. There are a lot of pieces in this design. I think we might be here for a while putting it all together. All right, we've made it to the bottom. We've got the black at the very bottom and then the orange of the flames in the fire to go on top. This will be stuck on with some foam squares. So I'll turn it upside down and get my foam. Try and add a bit of the foam into all of the sticky out pieces like the candle flame, the very edges of the mantelpiece, the holly leaf and the candle itself. Then work your way around the edge, adding the foam squares every couple of centimetres or around an inch. Depends a bit on how big you cut it out. But for me, as this is quite big, I'm going for around about an inch gap between each one. Now that I've gone around the edge, I'm also going to add some foam squares into this middle section. If there was nothing in the middle, there's nothing to keep the card upright. You'll probably find it will dip downwards and won't be nice and level, so you won't get as good a 3D appearance. But adding a few foam squares in the middle means everything will be held level and it will look much better overall. Once you've got all your foam squares on, peel the tops off to reveal the stickiness underneath. That's all of those done. Bring this back in and line it up. It lines up exactly with the edge of the whole design. When you think you've got it in place, gently drop it down. Don't put any pressure on it yet. That way it's just resting on top of the black, so you can check to make sure you're completely happy with the positioning before sticking it. So if I wanted to, I could pick this up and move it as it isn't properly stuck yet. But I think that looks pretty good, so I will push down to get all those foam squares nice and stuck. Next up is the yellow of the flame. This one will be glued on. Then we've got the candle to glue on. Don't worry that it's overlapping the holly. The holly will cover that up in the next step. And then we've also got the Christmas tree cutout piece to make up the greetings card that's up on the mantelpiece. Next is this big red bit to glue on top. Then the detail layer to make up the brickwork in the fireplace, also to glue. Be careful adding your glue around those brickwork pieces as it is quite thin. That's where the Barely Art glue is great because the nozzle on it is tiny. You'll just put enough glue on there that it'll stick nicely, but not done every single little line. But of course you can if you want to. Pushing down really gently now because I don't want my glue to smush out around that brickwork. It has done a little bit there. What you can do is get a weeding tool or even the edge of your fingernail and gently move away any glue that's visible. Try not to scratch the cardstock underneath with the sharpness of the weeding tool. There. Much neater. The glue does dry clear anyway, so it probably wouldn't have shown up that much, but a couple of seconds to tidy it up while we can is a good idea in my view. Okay, next we've got the white to make up the trim on the mantelpiece and the bit around here, and this is a foam square layer. This one's going to be hard for you to see because it's white on my white table. This one's a little tricky to line up because this bit's going to want to come down and touch before you might be quite ready for it to. So I'm going to balance it on my finger, get the rest of this bit lined up, and then drop down that top bit of the fireplace. That worked out pretty well. Next up, I'll do the holly leaves to glue. And then foam square for the berries. I've got some that I cut smaller for another project. I just went down one of the rows of my foam squares with a pair of scissors. I'm going to need that for this one as this is very small. You can glue this if you prefer. The biggest berry kind of points up towards the top right. So it ends up like that. Next up, you can either build Santa or you can build his boots. They're separate, so it doesn't matter which one you do next. I think let's do his boots. Okay, I'll start with this piece, which will be done with foam squares. Then next is this black bit to make up the base of his shoe. Then we've got this white bit to do with foam squares, making up the fluffy surround at the top of that back boot. Then next, the red of the front boot to do with glue. Black to go along the bottom. It's quite a small piece of card. There. And then foam squares for the fluff on the top of that front boot. Lovely! Right, now we can move on to Santa in his comfortable armchair. First up, we've got the very back of his armchair to go on with foam squares. This lines up with the edges of what we've already got here. Check! And push down when you're happy. Next up is this bit for Santa's hat to do again with foam squares. Lots of depth and dimension in this design. Next up is the black piece to glue on. Then this piece with the cutout for his eyes, also to be glued. For this one, it's easiest to line it up along the top bits or the sides, because the bottom, where the feet come in to make the feet of the chair, doesn't quite go up to the edges. Next up, we've got this white bit with his eyebrows on. Before this goes on, turn it upside down and add a little bit of glue around his big yawning mouth, and then stick the black circle over that so it will fill it in like that. And then we'll put this on with some foam squares. I had such a dilemma on this layer, trying to decide if I wanted to glue it or use foam squares. Gone for foam in the end, but if you prefer, absolutely, you could glue it. Bring that back and stick it down. While we're around this kind of area, do the bubble on the hat too. But this can be done at any time because nothing else relies on this piece. I'll stick that on with some foam squares. Alright, now we have the last bit of the sofa to go on, and this will go on with some glue. I called it a sofa. It's not a sofa, it's an armchair. I'll move on to this side next, but it doesn't matter which way around you do it. Starting with this piece to glue on. Then we've got the red, also to glue. Next up, the fluff around his trousers to go on with foam squares. I think I put my foam squares on the wrong side because that doesn't quite line up. Yes, I have. Okay, let's try that again. Luckily they peel off pretty well. Right, that is actually the front. The only bit that's seen will be the fluff and it hasn't caused any damage, so we're good. Something for you to be mindful of. Make sure you put your foam on the right way round. I'm now going to check everything really carefully. Okay, that one's good. Oh, I'm throwing my glue around. Oh dear. Start building up his big fluffy reindeer slippers. Got to know. Let me know in the comments, did you ever have a pair of these slippers? They used to be everywhere a few years ago, these great big slippers. There were reindeer and big sort of fluffy feet, like kind of Bigfoot slippers, and you could get Homer Simpson slippers and Cookie Monster slippers and these great big things. And I always wanted a pair, but I am so accident prone when I'm walking around at the best of times. I thought adding great big oversized fluffy slippers on my feet whilst trying to go downstairs was probably not ideal, so I never had them. Now we've got the front to go on with foam squares. But if you did have a pair of these great big fluffy slippers, let me know which ones you had. And do you still have them? Maybe you've still got some. Okay, and then glue on his nose. He's so cute. Alright, let's do the mug next. We'll start with foam squares on the back of the blue. Next up is the red to glue on. Then his hand, also glue. And the fluff around his top with foam squares. And then there's a little star for the middle of his mug to glue on. Nearly there now. We've got his hand this side. And I'm trying to work out the best way to do this. I think this is going to have to be glued. Otherwise, his leg on this side will come out further than the leg on this side, which won't quite look right. And then got his red bit. And then the fluff to foam square. That's going to make the leg come out further. Okay, I think we'll have to glue this bit of fluff. It should still look right overall. It will just look like he's pushed the fluff inwards where he's leaning on his arm. But if it bothers you that this one is glued and that one is foam squared, just take that one off the foam squares and glue it on instead. Next up is his leg to glue on, because we glued it on the other side. And then the red of his trousers to glue. Then the fluff for foam squares. Oh, I'm going to check I've got it the right way around this time, because I didn't last time. Okay, that way. And then build up the rest of the slipper the same. So gluing the antler piece, gluing the next bit, foam squares for the next piece, and glue for the nose. And I've decided that the mismatched fur is bothering me, so I'm going to glue this one on instead. I don't mind that these bits on the arms will be glued and the bits on the boots and the trousers are foam squared. That's fine, but I want these two to be consistent. There. Okay, I prefer that. Nearly there now, just two more little bits. The fluff on his hat to go on, I think just with glue. The reason that this piece exists, even though it's white on white, is it will just give you that little bit of line to separate where the eyebrows are compared to his hat. But I don't want to stick it out anymore, otherwise it will look like it's coming too far away from the red. It's just a very subtle little bit of shadowing that we're trying to get. I'll show you up a bit closer when it's stuck on. There. So it just shows a little bit more where the hat starts and his beard ends. And then his nose, another teeny tiny piece of foam square. You can glue it on if you prefer, because this is very small. There we go. And there is tired Santa yawning with his mug of cocoa after delivering everybody's presents on Christmas Eve. I hope that you enjoyed following along with me to make this tired Santa layered cardstock design. I love him. He's so cute looking there in his really comfy armchair with his slippers and his cocoa and taking a very well-deserved 5 minutes to himself before he heads off to bed. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and Christmas SVGs. I'll be back tomorrow with day 6 of the Christmas Craft Countdown, but for now, thank you so much for watching. Bye!